What's going on, family? How we doing? It is Yake, and I am back talking about another NFL draft. Today we are going to talk about the legendary 1998 NFL draft. You might know some players from that draft, but we're only talking quarterbacks today. So please bear with me for a couple minutes. We're going to go through the names. We're going to talk about the stats. We're going to talk about if they're important or not, and all of that is coming right up. So, if you don't know anything about the 1998 NFL Draft, you should probably know it as the Peyton Manning Draft. That is the year Peyton Manning went first overall. Before looking into this draft, I actually didn't know a lot of the other quarterbacks in it, but once I looked into the names, I was like, no, I totally remember that guy. I totally remember that guy. Totally remember that guy. Don't know that guy. Don't know that guy.
So rather than waste your time with my mindless drabbling, let's discuss some quarterback names from the 1998 NFL Draft. Sound good, Gabish?
Like I do in all my other videos, I like to just go down the list first before we go into each individual player. So we have Moses Moreno out of Colorado State in the 7th round, going to Chicago. Boston College, Matt Hasselbeck, going in the 6th round to Green Bay. John Dutton out of Nevada, going to Miami in the 6th round. I have never heard of this guy. From Michigan in the 3rd round, we got Brian Griese, going to Denver. 3rd round, we also have Jonathan Quinn out of Middle Tennessee State University, going to Jacksonville. Out of East Michigan, we got freaking Charlie Batch over here in the 2nd round going to Detroit. At the 2nd overall pick out of Washington State, we got Ryan Leaf. And then number 1 overall, the forehead, Peyton Manning out of Tennessee to the Indianapolis Colts.
Alright, let's start talking about some individualistic players who have histories of their own that might not be well known to the general public.
As you know, I like to get the undrafted free agent quarterbacks out of the way pretty quick because most of them don't matter, but this is Ron Paulus, Notre Dame legend, bro. Clearly he made it into the NFL and really mattered. I just want to say I'm probably the first person on YouTube to talk about Ron Paulus, so we're going to move on from him because he never actually played in the NFL. So first of the drafted quarterbacks, we have Moses Moreno, who played at Colorado, and as you can tell by the stats right there, he was a terrible NFL quarterback. Would love to know how much this bad boy goes for nowadays. But if you need to know literally anything about Moreno, just for fun, he did end up replacing the 2nd overall pick in this video, Ryan Leaf, because Ryan Leaf was really, let's hold off. Okay, cool, a good quarterback next. We got Matt Hasselbeck out of frickin' Boston College. Let's go. So in my opinion, up until Russell Wilson, Matt Hasselbeck was probably the best quarterback in Seahawks history, maybe behind David Krieg. The funny thing is he was drafted by Green Bay, but there was no way he was going to play in Green Bay because, hey, we got Brett Favre, so why do we need him? So my guy Matt went to Seattle and ended up becoming a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback and their starter for almost 10 years. Hasselbeck did make it to the Super Bowl riding on the coattails of Sean Alexander, and he was never like a statistically dominant quarterback if you saw by the stats. You can even argue Seattle should have won that Super Bowl because honestly, they kind of got screwed by the refs, but he is really well known for one big NFL clip that he probably will never live down for the rest of his life.
We want the ball, we're going to score.
Boy, that was over the PA system here at Lambeau Field saying we want the ball and we're going to score.
Hasselbeck was partly right. One of his passes did lead to the score.
The pass is picked up. Intercepted.
Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation.
So I don't want to talk about Hasselbeck forever, so we're going to move on to the next guy, but he did have a stint with the Titans, and then he had a stint with the Colts where he was a backup for Andrew Luck. Really provided a lot of veteran presence for him. It's kind of funny to think about, but Matthew Hasselbeck would probably be considered the greatest 6th-round quarterback in NFL history if some insufferable fucking douchebag who ruins NFL commentary didn't go in the 2000 draft. I hate you! I hate you, Tom Brady! I fucking hate you!
Jake, you gotta calm the fuck down. You're getting a little ridiculous. Next up, we got a guy I've never heard of, though.
I want one football fan that watches this video to tell me if they actually knew who John Dutton was before this video. Now, the only reason why you would maybe know him is because he was an AFL quarterback, and he was actually pretty good there. My dude John was an absolute dog in the AFL. 750 passing touchdowns, only 145 picks, and another 22 on the ground. My man was the Aaron Rodgers of the AFL, besides, my dog Aaron Garcia. Weird thing, though. No football reference page, so we're going to move on to the next guy, okay? So we're going to be talking about Michigan quarterback Brian Griese, and Brian is indeed the son of Hall of Fame quarterback Bob Griese, Miami Dolphins legend, and he's also one of my favorite quarterbacks, weirdly enough. I find Brian interesting because he actually was drafted to be the heir apparent to John Elway, and if you know anything about John Elway, then you might know that the Broncos were constantly trying to replace him throughout the 80s, but by the time that Brian was drafted, it was actually time to replace him. Statistically, Brian Griese was actually a pretty above-average quarterback for a couple of seasons. He actually did make a Pro Bowl in 2000 after John Elway had left because his first year starting was kind of middling. He also does have a Super Bowl ring because he was on the team the year they won the Super Bowl in '98. But he was never able to find any sustained success because he just really wasn't that spectacular of a quarterback. He had about 3 or 4 good seasons in the NFL, you want to give or take a couple of years. But towards the end, he was mostly known as a backup for Miami and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Guy really liked Florida.
Today, I'm sure he's most known as a commentator. He was also recently the quarterback's coach for the 49ers, which is kind of funny because he was originally coached under Mike Shanahan, but then he became a coach under Kyle. Gotta think about that one for a little while. Anyways, I think he was an interesting player to at least discuss, but we should probably move on to the next guy so this video isn't an hour long. All I can say is that I vaguely remember him.
Hey Lois, another crappy NFL quarterback. Who the fuck is Jonathan Quinn?
Even with the beauty of hindsight, I don't really understand why Jonathan Quinn was taken in the 3rd round, which in my opinion is a substantial enough pick to warrant the question. Jacksonville was coming off an 11-5 season, Mark Brunell was a Pro Bowler the year before, and he was pretty dope. I'd like to keep this discussion about Jonathan Quinn as minimal as possible because that's what his career was, minimal. As you can see, he started 2 games his rookie year, played bad, hung around for a couple years, and then somehow made it onto the Chicago Bears like every other flame-out quarterback, and guess what? Played bad. Most of his playing time was in the NFL Europe, which, cool experiment, I wish they would bring that back.
Anyways, Johnny boy, I think we've had enough time talking about you. We gotta bring Charlie out there.
Alright, trivia time. In Barry Sanders' last season, starting for the Lions, who was the primary starter? If your answer was not Charlie Batch, then you gotta go back to football history school, which totally exists. Charlie Batch had a respectable NFL career. He was the primary starter for the Lions for a couple of seasons until they decided to move on and draft Joey Harrington. Then he kind of just chilled in Pittsburgh for like 8 years. Charlie's an interesting quarterback to me personally because, yeah, if you look at his numbers right there, they're okay. You know, he's got a couple of seasons where he was serviceable at best. But the thing that I think is really cool about Charlie is that in the 1998 season, when the Lions had him starting, they tried to utilize him in more of a mobile role. What I mean by that is that the Lions at the time wanted to utilize Charlie Batch's athleticism to do like bootlegs and kind of QB sweeps and whatnot. And it had very middling results. Obviously, he wasn't the sustained starter there, but it's interesting to see that the NFL was starting to move towards this idea of a mobile quarterback. But yeah, 2 Super Bowl rings, being Big Ben's backup, and he's beloved by his hometown so much that every time he's home in Michigan, people love him. I bet he's a good man. All right, up next, we got the 2 first-round quarterbacks. Oh, God, such a contrast.
Don't talk to me, all right? Knock it off!
That was 1998 second overall pick Ryan Leaf. And Ryan Leaf is really infamous for having just one of the most disappointing careers in NFL history. Ryan had a cannon for an arm, he could make any throw on the field, but he couldn't get out of his own way. That's how everyone remembers Ryan Leaf as a player. Ryan's attitude obviously got in the way of him becoming a productive NFL quarterback, and it's funny because he did win his first 2 games as a starter during his rookie year, but if you look at the numbers, 2 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. Oh man, like that's a bad rookie year, you heard? AJ Smith, the at the time GM of the Chargers, says he tried desperately to move up to get Peyton Manning, but unfortunately the Colts would not trade the pick. They thought, oh, you know what? Well, we'll get the second best guy in the draft. This kid's got a cannon arm out of Washington State, and he's a monster. Yeah, he was a monster. If by monster you mean giant asshole. Ryan has had his ups and downs in his post-career, but he's matured a lot as a person and can fully acknowledge that he didn't put in the work to be an NFL quarterback and couldn't get out of his own way. Many of his teammates thought he was a big jerk and he isolated himself and all that jazz that comes with being a bust quarterback. Ryan, I respect you and I hope you're doing well, and sorry you didn't work out in the NFL, buddy. One more quarterback on this list. I think there's 5 quarterbacks that if you want to put them in the discussion of the greatest quarterback ever, it's totally fair. That is Joe Montana, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, and Aaron Rodgers. I am a football history buff. Please do not bring up anyone from before fucking 1960. If you think it's Johnny Unitas, then I need to bring you back to the old folks' home. If you think it's Roger Staubach, then you need to get your father's balls out of your mouth, you Dallas fans. So that leaves us with just one guy, the guy who has more MVP awards than any quarterback in NFL history, even more than Aaron Rodgers. And if you look at some seasons, he arguably should have had 2 or 3 more. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Peyton Williams Manning. Peyton Manning has 5 MVPs. Before I show his stats, before I show anything about him, I just want to reiterate, he has 5 MVPs and probably deserved more. We're just kind of going to go through Peyton Manning's career year by year and kind of break down why he's so special. Rookie year, rough year. Not great, under 60% completion. He did throw 26 touchdowns. It was the rookie record at the time, but he threw 28 picks, which that's a lot of interceptions. But towards the end of the year, you knew that he was going to figure it out and be an all-timer if he could just, get a better team around him. Second year in the league, 13-win team. 3-win team previously, got over 4,000 yards, same amount of passing touchdowns, but cut it down to 15 picks. Guy was top 5 in MVP voting, and he's only 23 years old. Next season, again, statistically, very powerful season in 2000. Although the team went only 10-6, he was still solid. Top 5 in MVP voting. Goes into the next year. Yeah, they had a down year. It was 6-10. Still threw for over 4,000 yards, which at the time was not that common. And yeah, he uptick in interceptions, but whatever. Hey, let's get over it. 2002 rolls around, again, 10-6 season, solid numbers, made the Pro Bowl. 2003 comes around, first MVP award. 2004 rolls around, another MVP, statistically dominant, 49 passing touchdowns, which at the time broke the passing touchdown record for a single season. MVP. Obviously, I don't feel like I need to tell you that. 2005, statistically good year. Not as good as the year before, but still Pro Bowl caliber quarterback, second in MVP voting. 2006, wins his first Super Bowl off a 14-win season. 2007, again, I guess it's considered a down year for him, but he still threw for over 30 passing touchdowns and over 4,000 yards. 2008, wins another MVP. Weakest of his MVPs, I won't lie, but still, wins another MVP on a 12-win season. 2009, goes back to the Super Bowl, 14 wins, another MVP. That is 4 MVPs for Peyton Manning as an Indianapolis Colt. 2010, the team went 10-6, they were okay, still threw for over 4,700 yards, over 30 passing touchdowns. My man injures his neck, does not play 2011. The Colts eventually get rid of him, replace him with Andrew Luck, and my man goes to the Broncos. Has almost 4,700 yards passing his first season, 37 passing touchdowns, and 11 picks to a almost 69% completion rating. Throwing this ball, he was the first team All-Pro, second in MVP voting. If we're being real, almost certainly deserved the MVP in 2012 because, quarterbacks are more important than running backs, and this guy was putting up god numbers. Whatever. 2013 rolls around, and Peyton Manning has the statistically most dominant passing season any quarterback has ever had, and probably will ever have if we're being completely honest. My man threw for 55 passing touchdowns to only 10 picks, almost 5,500 yards passing, and an almost 69% completion rating. Yeah, he went to the Super Bowl that year and got his ass beat by the Seattle Seahawks, and it kind of sucked, and it ruined his great passing season, but that was his 5th MVP, and again, just proved he probably should have had a 6th. That 2013 season also led to one of my favorite NFL highlights that I will now play.
On 3rd and goal. Mitch Unrein is the fullback, defensive lineman. Peyton still has the football. Can you believe it? Peyton Manning runs it in for the touchdown.
God tier running quarterback, Peyton Manning. So, last 2 years of his career were okay. 2014, they went 12-4. He still had a good year. Probably still could have won MVP if we're being completely honest. That being said, 39 touchdowns to 15 interceptions and almost 5,000 yards passing. Just made the Pro Bowl, got knocked out by the Colts in the playoffs. And then 2015, worst season statistically as a starter ever. He's clearly too old, clearly does not have it anymore, but he did win a Super Bowl. So you have to give it to the old man. That is the beautiful story of Peyton Manning's career, and now we get to rank all the quarterbacks. I wonder who's first. All right. Let's get to some ranking 1998 quarterbacks. Obviously, the first name we got there is the one, the only Ron Powlus, because he literally didn't play in the NFL. Then we got AFL legend John Dutton, followed by Moses Moreno. Yeah, you know we got him. We had to add him there. Then we got Jonathan Quinn going to Jacksonville. He was terrible. Then we got biggest bust Ryan Leaf. I think he's better than the people below him because he's not better than my man Charlie Batch. Charlie, come on, take a standing ovation. All right, after Charlie Batch, you know who we got. We got the one, the only Brian Griese. Let's go. Brian definitely was better than everyone below him, and he was actually a starter for multiple seasons. Pretty good quarterback, has a Super Bowl ring. And then next up, we got Matt Hasselbeck, probably the most underrated sixth-round quarterback in NFL history. Tom Brady, you are a scrub, which means number one, no surprises here, Peyton Manning. Awesome, we got everyone done. We got everyone ranked. If you disagree with me, I don't know what you could possibly have to say against what I'm saying because this is all objectively correct, and there's no way to argue with what I'm saying because I'm always objectively correct. Thank you for watching this video, everybody. That was all the quarterbacks in the 1998 NFL Draft ranked and discussed. If you have another year you want me to talk about, please feel free to put it in the comments. If you have any criticisms of me, I would appreciate if you kept it light, but I don't mind seeing it because I need to know how to be better. As always, like, subscribe, do all that jazz if you don't mind. It's so appreciated, and we'll be back with another quarterback draft.